but now also new champions coming in, and I really want to see how the Vietnamese teams really can make use of the pick. We just now see Flash Ghost coming up by the side of Artemis, and I also want to see Leash on the Nocturne to really help this lane really come to fruition and really get going.
So I'm just trying to check Zeri's stats very quickly. And for some reason, it's saying that we haven't had a Zeri game in VCS Spring Split, which feels wrong because I feel like we've definitely seen a Zeri game.
We have. I remember Vid playing it for Luxury Esports, definitely, and carrying some games on it.
Okay.
So Zeri not being in Spring Split must have been some kind of bug. So we definitely have seen Zeri beforehand, but it is a kind of new pick, and also Zeri in general, not like a new in that sense, but it
No.
after the recent changes to Zeri, it kind of became an S tier pick all of a sudden, and just now has been to some extent hotfix nerfed. And I want to see how Artemis really plays it out, because a well played Zeri can come to fruition quite early.
Will Cerberus be able to take it to her? Will they be able to start their summer split with a bang, taking out the MSI representatives of Saigon Buffalo? Either way, we are expecting a relatively slow start. We're seeing 2 AP hyper carries in the top lane for both teams, 2 AD hyper carries in the bottom lane. And then, well, in the mid lane, I guess there's a bit more early game presence for Froggy on that Silas.
I think that's kind of irritating thing, because Wise isn't that much of a scaling god anymore. You see the bot lane. Oh, 2v2 not really going well for Saigon Buffalo.
Huber, that was such a nice bait, flashing out and then pulling off the handshake onto Taki, forces the Tahm Kench to burn their flash as well. Huber is stepping up coming into summer.
Gotta say that they also used 3 summoner spells on their own side, so it was just a trade of summoner spells against HP bars, which is something they could also work with, and also getting the flash from the Tahm Kench is very, very valuable, and maybe the most important thing you want here. But yeah, BJ knows. BJ wants to punch this bot lane for this overstep.
And there is no ghost for Artemis. There is no flash for Huber. Taki narrowly avoiding the abyssal dive, but it doesn't matter because the flame jumpers are there and Huber can't get away. Oh, the Guardian is massive! But first blood picked up by BJ.
Leash?
Flashing forward. Can he get on top of the Wukong? And the answer to that is no. BJ able to just dash his way out to safety.
Yeah, very goody play coming up from the bot, and that is kind of the result of the aftermath of that, with BJ being there at the right place at the right time. You kind of had to expect BJ to be around at this point of the game, and trading some spells. Of course, in theory, could work, but with Leash being there later, that definitely played out in the favor of Saigon Buffalo. Does reward them with the first kill. It also goes into the Wukong. Here we see again how it really happened. Just on the Abyssal Dives. It didn't even need to hit. It was just tongue lash landing, then the zoning away with the Flame Chompers, and he survives for a surprisingly long amount of time with the Guardian, as you said, but BJ still, with the crushing blow, can finish the kill, and Leash not in a position to return the kill because the clone can just tank the unspeakable horror, and does no follow-up coming out by the side of Cerberus.
I think Taki landed a tongue lash as well onto Leash, which got enough of a slow to allow BJ to run out to safety. So one thing to note, though, is pretty much all the summoners have now been burnt in the bottom lane. It's just Shogun who has a cleanse available and Artemis who has a flash available. So we were expecting a lot of aggression towards this bottom side of the map, and we are seeing that. And now with summoners burnt, we should be seeing even more.
Definitely do. Although both bot laners are going for the Cull side, which means, of course, that they are kind of chilling in that regard. And the top lane not really working that much victoriously for the side of Pos on the Gwen. The Kale definitely having a decent early game with only being down a few CS and being pushed in all the time, very safe for potential ganks that would come out for the side of Leash. And what I wanted to address before the 2v2 shenanigans started was what really Wise brings to the team. He is kind of less of a scaling pick than the Silas, I would say, because in the late game, the Silas would just smash him in the all-in department. But Wise actually kind of spikes in the mid game with his tier being stacked up and him being on 2 or 3 items, I would say. And that's kind of the point where I would expect Cerberus to strike. And here we see the bot lane. They need to be very careful.
Spark surges over the wall, and that is one benefit that Zeri can bring. You've got a lot of safety if you are nearby walls, and especially with the introduction of the alcove, it gives an extra way for Zeri to be able to escape from an engage. But BJ still hovering around this bottom side. And to go back to what you were talking about, Quincy, with regards to this mid lane, like, even if Silas is, let's say, a stronger champion in the early stages of the game, Rice can very quickly shove a wave and throw it towards the Silas if Yado wants to be able to rotate to a play.
Well, that's kind of the strong point that Wise really has. He can just insta-shove the wave and then go for the side lane plays, or even in the mid game, like play a little bit more with his range and go for his tier item being fully stacked up, going for the Everforce and then just nullify what Silas wants to do, because Silas is of course a champion that's melee, wants to go in and wants to work with his mobility, and the Everforce Wise with the Rune Prison kind of denies exactly that from them. So that's kind of the point where he really wants to shine. Silas not really the champion that wants to play the 5v5 team fights. Wise a lot more so, and Silas really wants to side lane. With Wise being in the core of his own team, kind of bring the team a lot of Drake and objective control in general, and that is something that Cerberus definitely aims to take in this scenario. And with Herald being up in 19 seconds, maybe they want to use Wise together with the bot lane to really force the Herald over there and guarantee them some plating money. Froggy also just now in the mid lane VC is struggling both in CS in the HP department.
There's a realm warp. Froggy hijacking that one away, trying to make a play onto Yado as BJ and Taki were roaming up into the mid lane. Unsuccessful though for Saigon Buffalo, and now Cerberus looking for a potential play of their own in the mid lane.
Yeah, they do, and can go maybe for the plating money at least, because of course Saigon Buffalo accept that players failed and then just now take the recall out to really get away from it. Also the wave just being pushed in, nobody really taking it, but instead of Saigon Buffalo to really shows them struggling to allocate the farm probably, and no plating also taken by the side of Cerberus. They go for a top lane wraparound play though, and Husband on the Kale may be in trouble. He still has a flash, still has the ult, but can he get out?
He does have the flash available. Leash is here. Divine Judgment will buy time. Flashes away so that the fear does not come through from Leash. So both flash and ult burnt for Hasmed, whereas Poss just burning the ghost.
Yeah, definitely a trade that is worthwhile for the side of Hasmed. Gotta say though, maybe it actually is worth to just die and then not use either of them, because they could just be so important in the potential Drake or Herald fight. But with a Kale, you likely don't take those either way, so it's definitely fine to just not give gold into the pockets of Leash or even Pause on the Gwen, because Pause on the Gwen so far just now has been farming, hasn't really got anything else going on for him. And oh,
unlucky Artemis. The Scots of Crab
you hate to
decided
see it.
turn around at the last second.
Yeah. So the consolation prize is in, right? With the Herald being taken
Yeah.
by the side of Leash and Pos, and no fight coming up by the side of SGB. And they aren't interested to take the Drake at the same time, which is something that I would maybe expect them to do, because they likely know that Leash is on the top side of the map. He has ganked top lane just a minute ago, but they do not prefer the Drake right now. What kind of also worries me is that the Jinx is falling behind against the Zeri in the farm department. I would expect the Jinx to be at least ahead in the first few waves.
My God, Hasmed just took Leash from full health down to sub. We've got a realm up there on the top side. These are some low members of Cerberus. Paranoia, but Hasmed just gets the kill onto Boss. This is not a tower dive you want to do. Yada's going to survive, but BJ shows up flashing forward. And it's 2 kills for Saigon Buffalo. And what does Cerberus have to show for it? Just a couple of tower plates. And now Froggy shows up as well.
Cerberus going for the dive lane because they knew Kale had the Thunder spell down, but they just get outplayed on the dive. Pos dies before Kale even has to use really anything, and they also have been poked out a lot beforehand either way. And Yado being in there, of course, helps secure them 1 kill, but that is such a huge cost. They lost 3 kills in the aftermath of it and couldn't even take down Froggy or BJ, who was very happy to get another kill there. Yado also blowing his Thunder spell. Spells slight disaster by the side of Cerberus. In the gold department, they are still kind of equal, because Artemis has been farming up a storm in the bot lane. But other than that, that play just has been unnecessary.
I just have no words for that. I saw Leash looking to the top side and thought, after you've been chunked to half health, there's no way you can look for a play now. And Hasma just says, thank you for a kill. BJ says, thank you for a kill. Cerberus still have a Rift Herald, so they can still look for a potential play. And as you mentioned, the gold still even due to Yado and Artemis having those big CS discrepancies.
Definitely so. And I think this play, in theory, is a correct play, by the way. Don't get me wrong. But don't get chunked out in the first place, and actually do not get hit by the Kale Starfire Spellblade, or it's actually the Radiant Blast. And here we see again how it happens. Pos just gets one shot, basically. I mean, just let Yado work forward. He's kind of the tankiest member of them. And Yado also, I mean, why is he flashing there? He was like at 50 HP and he knows BJ is around. I mean, it's very obvious you die there. To his fairness, BJ also used his flash to really secure the kill, but I think he didn't really need to do so here. We see Lee also trying to get like Froggy as a consolation prize, but couldn't get him either because Silas has such nice healing abilities with the Kingslayer coming out. And
To
now
be fair,
SCB, well, once on
Leash
yes.
had no health and Froggy was full health. The fact that Leash almost got a kill there and was one auto away was kind of disgusting.
Yeah, it's impressive, but what does it really bring you, right? I mean, it doesn't really give you gold to the table, and you just give them another kill. The
Yeah.
fight itself is impressive, but if you don't win the fight, don't take the fight. It's easy as that. And
Okay, like
SCB,
no.
on the
Okay, in fairness, I agree about like the whole top lane play, but there was nothing that Leash could do there.
okay,
Like he
yeah,
was gonna die.
yeah. That play was kind of going the wrong way before. I give you that much. And SGB, they want some tempo, right? I mean, they also got the first Drake secured, and getting a Drake rolling when you are the competition with the Kale, definitely something you do not hate. And overall, scaling with late game, I would favor them as they have both the Jinx and the Kale working for them. Gotta say though, Artemis and Yaro in the mid game will likely find their time to strike and will make it hard for Saigon Buffalo, or at least will make them work for it.
Abyssal dive, Cyclone landing onto two members. Leash flashing away. Super Mega Death Rocket lands onto Yado, whose realm warping into the play. And there is a hostile takeover. Huber will fall. Yado's still alive. And Cerberus are going to turn the fight. Taki flashing over the wall. Froggy with the abscond away. And overall, it is 1-for-1 support for jungler. Now the Rift Child going to be dropped in the mid lane, and that's going to be more gold going over onto Artemis.
And the face check kind of being saved by the side of Cerberus with the bait of really working Waters and Yado staying alive. They get the kill to BJ. They trade Huber for it, which is definitely a worthwhile trade. Also, a very nice Herald push in the mid lane to get more plating money. And despite the kind of iffy looking skirmishes, Cerberus really pulls ahead in the gold department here. They kind of dropped the Drake earlier. We see again how it happened with BJ going in with the Cyclone and Leash buying a little bit of time. Yado going in with the Realm Warp and Huber here kind of has an awkward death hostile takeover coming out from both teams still though, and
Yado is so lucky.
Yado can really just clean it up.
When you realm warp in that aggressively, if it wasn't for that hostile takeover, he was absolutely deader than a doornail.
He definitely was. And here in the top lane, Husband is ahead in levels against Pos. This is not looking good for the Gwen right now. Also in the long lane, Pos cannot really step up to the wave and contest it. It's very, very rough. He also just now sees that BJ is around, so adding insult to injury, so to say. He maybe also just now fears that he will get dove or something and will just uh, pull the wave away from his turret a little bit and tank the minion wave a little bit. Here we see the gold department top side, of course, being down as the skirmishes we have seen earlier. But Yado, almost on his own, is 1k gold ahead. And Artemis also, in his own right, still slight gold lead for him.
Yeah, and the difference is Artemis doesn't have any kills just yet, whereas Yada does. Although, that being said, Froggy has a couple of kills of his own. Now, let's talk a little bit about Harsmed and Kale things, because Harsmed's almost level 11, so he's almost a champion. The abduct lands onto Yado. He drops down the Everfrost, but while it locks Froggy and B&J down, he will still fall.
Still falls to the side of Silas, really letting his engage. And of course, Cyclone plus Silas in your face as a Rise is not something you're really happy with. Here we see a Paranoia being popped and not being used to its fullest effect. BJ still wants to go in further though. And we also need to talk about item builds, I think, because it's a Night Harvester on the Silas. Very aggressive choice by him to really get the Magic Pen going. And it's 80k in the top lane for Hasmet, so he really wants to appreciate that sustain aspect a little bit more that the Kale can really use. We see Kraken Slayer first for him.
Kraken Slayer, but I mean, that just has to be to try to get through the armor that Yado's eventually going to build, right?
I think that must be it. I mean, it's probably him assuming it will be a tank wise and him just softening up a little bit in the team fight itself or just straight up crushing it, because usually you would go the Riftmaker and then just sustain through the fights. With an 80 heavy item build with Kraken Slayer and then there's just maybe a lifesteal item later on, you can heal away a little bit better than the Riftmaker build because you can just heal from the minion waves itself. But in the team fight especially, you deal so much damage with the Kraken Slayer. It's more sustained damage overall, less burst heavy, as you, of course, do not have any AP on your build. But it's something that can definitely work. It will spike insanely hard with like 3 items and then will likely outshine the Gwen.
After the shutdown onto Yado, Saigon Buffalo find themselves with a goal lead for the first time in the game. and Froggy is 3-0 on the Silas. That Night Harvester completed, as you were alluding to earlier, as Artemis being caught out by Harsmed. Spark Surge over the wall. The lightning crashes Artemis. Looking now to go back in onto Harsmed. Has to be so careful. But can he just run down the Kale? It forces Harsmed to flash. Artemis under tower.
Whoa.
Gets a kill. And he'll take down the tower before he falls as well. Artemis with the dive makes it work.
This is just Shieldbow gaming coming from Artemis, really working well. I think he also had to abuse the fact that the Kraken Slayer pox were running out by the side of Harsmed, so he has just bought a few seconds, and then he just needs to get the triple hit. But either way, mid lane is getting dove.
Yeah, Yada can't get out of the play. A realm warp from a Froggy just to get the dive going. Saigon Buffalo. Well, it's not first tower of the game, but it is a tower of their own. BJ has to be careful. Handshake Leash looking to go in. Devoured by Taki. Saigon Buffalo could look to keep on going with the fight, but Poss is making his way down from the river, and Saigon Buffalo will retreat.
Saigon Buffalo will retreat, and here we see the replay again. Oh, no, we don't. We don't.
No, this is live. This is live, and it's a kill onto Shogun. And Poss will take their first kill of the game, and Drake is up for the taking.
Yeah, and Shogun is the main damage threat on the side of Saigon Buffalo. With him being down, they definitely have to give over this Dragon. This is Cerberus Billy biting back in the mid game and finding a good angle to Shogun. Also blew both summoner spells to try and get out of that. And either way, we likely won't see the replay again with Artemis having the great outplay against Harsmed. And it was them just both using the ultimate. And yeah, the fine detail is, of course, the Kraken Slayer procs really being waited out by Artemis and him just going back in. He knew he had the shield bow to tank the turret, and then just finishing off the turret itself before the turret kills him. Very, very ballsy play. Renata also helping him out a little bit. That was very good to see. And this is kind of the difference that Artemis makes, because I think other AD carries just wouldn't have the guts to go for this play.
Yeah. And this is why we love Artemis. Aggressive player, and he goes for those plays. He's good enough to make those plays work. And here's that Paranoia engage from Cerberus.
Very good engage coming up with Paranoia, followed up by the needlework from Poss, and Poss getting his first kill, as you said, and also funneling some gold into the Gwen. Now the gold being very, very close to each other, the Drake score also being equalized. I think we just now have a very, very close game on our hands, and that's something that we really appreciate to see here. Artemis just now getting stopped by the Super Mega Death Rocket.
I mean, it has no impact because there are no objectives up on the map, so...
Yeah, it's just to piss him off.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how successful that was. I mean,
that maybe has an impact. Maybe pissing him off is something that works. I mean, we have seen Spring Split.
Yeah. Well, maybe you've pissed off Cerberus too much, because now they're engaging onto BJ. The Devour will come through, but a Realm Warp from Cerberus to chase. No one is in the Realm Warp, though. They're just going to run head first at Saigon Buffalo, but unable to get back on top of the Wukong.
Yeah, just a trade of ultimates, basically, with Paranoia being used against the Devour from Tam Kench, and also Binjay running for the hills with his clone. And him, of course, getting Chandler quite a bit means Cerberus can go for this tier 1 turret play. That's very hard to defend for Foggy on his own. Foggy, however, is maybe an insane man and tries to defend it. He has Harsmed around now.
Poss is doing a lot of damage with a snip. Poss works his way back up. Tower is secured. Super Mega Deathwork. That was already off cooldown for Shogun?
It was, I mean... He's using it very greedily too. I mean, just now that was very optimistic to get a kill out of that. But you see with things like that maybe there was a call that this might just be a fight that actually SGB plays, and we're like, Shogun for your ultimate just in case.
Now Saigon Buffalo looks towards the top side. The top tower is very low. Hostile takeover will go through the members of Saigon Buffalo. Poss is surely going to fall. He has the Divine Judgment, keeps Froggy alive, and BJ zones Hubert away from the fight. So Saigon Buffalo will get 2 kills for nothing.
And that's a very good flank coming up by the side of Saigon Buffalo to really get the kills going. Yeah, the turret not really defendable by the side of Cerberus, and also miscommunication because they had the bailout onto Yado, but Yado was still flashing out, so not really the team being on the same page. Maybe if they fully commit to one or the other, it could work better for them. But this is just 2 kills plus a turret for the side of Saigon Buffalo, and them pulling ahead slightly in the gold department now. But gotta say, 1k gold at 20 minutes doesn't really tell a full story or doesn't really mean much in the general scheme of things. And we are just now waiting what Artemis really can do in the series in the later fights, because he is a star player on the side of Cerberus. He's going for the wits and the third item, and he will just spike harder and harder with every item he can purchase. And a lot of gold for Saigon Buffalo is onto the Silas from Foggy, and not to diss Foggy or anything, but having all that gold on the melee carry can be very, very highly rewarding, but also be a very, very huge risk.
High risk, high reward. Sometimes it's what we like to see, and is a way that Froggy likes to play from time to time. We've seen his champion swamp, as I think we like to call it. Now on the Silas, not one of his more creative picks, but Silas's, as you alluded to, can be absolutely massive and can hugely turn fights, especially if Froggy can get onto the backline, if he can get onto Artemis and one-shot that Zeri, you've practically won the fight then and there.
Yeah, that's just how it works with every melee carry diving to an AD carry and getting the kill off. However, I think that will be quite hard because it is a Zeri, which is not also just a mobile champion with using the Spark Surge and having an immortal shield bow, but there's also still the Renata that will likely bail him out if that happens to be the case. So there's one way for the side of Cerberus to really have an outplay against that. And if I was Saigon Buffalo, I would rather have the kills not onto Froggy Silas, but onto the Jinx or onto the Kale, because they would just be so much safer to really get the fight going. Also, even the Wukong would be maybe better because he has that much of an AoE threat despite being a melee carry, and Silas doesn't have quite as much of it.
Now, with this unique Silas build with the Night Harvest, I think there are some mana issues. So we're seeing that Seraph's Embrace being picked up because usually I don't think that item gets picked up for Silas.
It's not as common, of course. I mean, you could definitely also go Muramana on the side of Silas, but I wouldn't really advise that in this position right now. What you could go for, what you would expect usually would be a walker build.
Engaging, needlework, slicing through the members of Saigon Buffalo, but Puss is already low. Froggy goes in, paranoia to follow, Leash forced to flash away, hostile takeover from over the wall, but look at Artemis trying his best to Kai. My god! That zap is absolutely disgusting from the Zeri, and BJ has already fallen. Cerberus looking to take the initiative now in the fight, Hasbid on the run, Taki low, Froggy forced to back away, blue buff secured by Froggy, but Cerberus are on the Drake. Froggy going in, not going to be able to steal it away, and Froggy gets clipped, but will be able to make it out. It's just a one kill for Cerberus, and Cerberus get the Drake as well.
And one way to show why Zeri is so broken on this page, the Ultra Shock laser really chunking people out. It is an AP spell, so to say, but still on the AD build does like 400, 500 damage to really clip enemy champions. We just now saw also Fori tanking another one of those, and we see how aggressive Artemis plays this fight together with the Whelm Warp coming on from Yado. Yado uses the Whelm Warp, but only Artemis goes in because he's confident enough to go for these plays. And here we see again how the fight goes. It is a little bit of a back and forth initially because both Tahm Kenji and Venata really buying some time for their respective carries. Here we see Pos going in first with the Needler coming in, Paranoia to really deny some vision on the side. Lightning Question now comes out, Foggy goes in, and here we see Leash going in, then out again, and baiting out the Divine Judgment. Also Hostile Takeover really clapping them as Husband on the Kale, of course, can chunk his own team quite a fair bit, and Artemis just needs to deliver one finishing blow, goes over with the Whelm Warp, and I think maybe if Cerberus is on the same page, if they all go for the Whelm Warp, a lot of members from the Buffalo die there.
I feel like Zeri is one of the biggest examples of a feast or famine kind of champion because players who are aggressive, who make risky plays like Artemis is doing, players who are very mechanically skilled, can look like absolute gods on Zeri.
And I want to see like Zeri Yumi or something played with Artemis together. Not because I would think Yumi would be good in this current meta, but just so the enchantment gets even more disgusting. I mean, Renata is kind of a half enchanter, half engaged champion, kind of a Swiss knife that does everything a little bit. But imagine this Zeri like being buffed up as a complete hyper carry and being funneled to. Artemis could do so much with it, and this is just not like being the regular stage Zeri. Like, that's not even the final form.
And for both teams, again, scaling comps, Jinx, Zeri, Kale, Gwen, the rise in the mid lane. I mean, Froggy, when he gets more items as well, he becomes an absolute beast with the amount of healing that the Kingslayer provides and the sticking power from the Abscond Abduct. Again, if Froggy can get onto Artemis in these fights, it can just be won in a blink of an eye for Saigon Buffalo.
And looking further to this game, I really wonder how Cerberus will play it out. I mean, the game, despite that fight just now looking pretty one-sided, them securing both the Drake and the kill, the game is basically still that even, right? It's a few hundred gold splitting these teams apart. One Drake doesn't really mean much in the great scheme of things. And it's not like Saigon Buffalo scaling poorly or anything. They have a Jinx, they have a Kale on their hand, and they are scaling anything but poorly. And Cerberus, of course, on their own, they have the Renata, they have the Gwen in the side lane potentially, which could be matched by the Kale. Here we see the gold department again, top lane super close to each other. And the only really big department I would say would be bot lane, but even that is kind of close. I mean, it's Froggy due to getting all the kills being ahead of Yado, and then the rest of the map on the side of Cerberus being a little bit ahead of their counterparts.
Shogun, though, is at 3 items, and that's kind of your power point for Jinx, especially now that you've got the rapid fire cannon at a little bit more range. I do wonder if Shogun's going to go towards a Guardian Angel next, or maybe go into more damage and, I don't know, even look for something like a Runan's Hurricane.
He definitely could do that to get like more AoE damage out, and he is the one who really has to deal the consistent damage on the side of Saigon Buffalo, so it would make sense for him. But gotta say, on the other side, Artemis thinks similarly. He goes for the Tiamat, so he can use his on-hit effect.
The R buttons have been pressed for Cerberus, Realm Warp, Paranoia. In they go with the engage, and it is Saigon Buffalo on the retreat. Yado is somehow still alive and will be able to survive the fight. Hasmed will fall as Artemis claims the first kill of the fight, and Artemis. 1 4. Froggy will fall as well, and it's 2 for the side of Cerberus.
Cerberus is such a ballsy team, going in with every R button they could press. Their Paranoia in, Wellmop in, the Needlework, really softening up the members from the side of Saigon Buffalo. And Artemis is just that guy that just goes for the play, kills both Hasmed and Forky, gets a huge shutdown on his own. And most ADCs would likely have stopped at the first kill and be happy with that, but that is not Artemis. Artemis goes for more, gets a second kill there, and thus easily secures the Baron for Cerberus. And with that, the first maybe decisive lead for them to really go in and translate this to more Drakes. Here we see the play again. Paranoia plus Realm Up together. TP instantly by the side of SGB because they were scared. And rightfully so, they were scared because there's just so much damage coming out with the Needlework coming out. And just Artemis getting to free fire. Very scary prospect.
And Froggy just gets burnt down. It's about 3 autos and he's killed from half health is the Silas. Drake is up as well now, and that will be Cerberus moving on to Soul Point. But this is the power of the Cerberus composition. You can just engage in the blink of an eye with the Realm Warp and the Paranoia.
That's definitely one part of it. Another part of it is, of course, the way just Artemis can play the team fights, while Shogun on his own kind of can't. I mean, and also I hate to harp on it too much, but Froggy's item build is not something I really like, because I think usually with the Rocket Belt, he would at least have one more defensive tool. He just gets blown up so quickly by Artemis, as we just now saw, and he cannot really fight these fights offensively. Now at least got the Zonia's Hourglass, so he has one more defensive tool and also a bit more defensive stats to work with, but I think it might just be too late.
Engage again, it's on to Hasmed. Divine Judgment not yet available, and Hasmed will die just seconds before that critical ultimate would have been available for use.
Yeah, they just instantly press the trigger, and Hasmed wasn't ready for it, literally. I mean, not having the Divine Judgment ready, this of course means another side lane catch, a 5v4 push with the Baron buff still on Cerberus, and Cerberus can strike a lot with that, can threaten the dive still here, with Paranoia being down. Holy...
Handshake forces the Devour. Cerberus instantly tried to go in with the Lightning Crash, and that's going to be the first inhibitor of the game falling. Huber will use the Shirelias, and Cerberus will make their retreat.
Cerberus making their retreat, as you say, and they also need to, because they probably have a lot of gold to shop. Here we see the next Super Mega Death Rocket just to annoy the crap out of Cerberus to really get the less comfortable recall on their own. But of course, with Baron Apart recall, they recall pretty quickly, can now shop their gold, and the next fights will be even harder for the side of Saigon Buffalo, because, I mean, just now, the fights weren't look already, and now just more map control for the side of Cerberus. And also them using this gold will mean their power spikes are even bigger now. And right now, no answer was saying Buffalo. What really is the last hope will be the level 16 for the Kale, maybe, where she can transcend and become an even more scary prospect than she is right now. But right now, I mean, as I kind of predicted, before level 16, in the later mid-game, Gwen just outshines the Kale.
And Hasmed's been level 14 for a while, so should be hitting level 15 fairly soon. Question is, can Cerberus end this game before the KL gets to 16? Or if the KL gets to 16, will that be enough for Saigon Buffalo to turn this game around? It has been a close game for a very long time, but it's starting to go Cerberus's way. Paranoia and Realm Warp to the top lane as the ultimate drop down by the Renata as well. It's just a huge tower dive. Yado is going to fall, and maybe Cerberus have bitten off a little bit more than they can chew. The hijacked hostile takeover are absolutely massive, and Leash will fall as well. That gives critical time over to the side of Saigon Buffalo to scale and get stronger and stronger in the game.
Definitely not the dive you wanted to on the side of Cerberus to give away these 2 kills, and just going for the dive you really didn't have to. Yeah, it's just a classic. I mean, that's not the first time even in this game. And overall, of course, you just know, as you say, buy time for the Kale to scale. Gotta say that there weren't really any objectives up anyway, so you kind of have to go for the tier 2 turrets now on the side of Cerberus, but this dive kind of overforced by them. You can just play it a bit slower, can just work with multiple waves of Baron empowered minions, can just work with supers, and here we see how it started off. It was Pos getting very angry on Froggy, and Hostile Takeover coming out pretty quickly for him. And Yado going for the Zonias can of course save himself for a bit, but then he just dies anyway and cannot really do damage at all this fight. Hostile Takeover also missing by the side of Huber, and that's a main asset of the team fight not really being used to its fullest potential. And the game's still kind of close, right? It's 2k gold between those teams in the late game. Kale just now hitting level 15 on her own, and it's far from over. I mean, of course, Ocean Soul could swing it a little bit more in the side of Cerberus, but even that Ocean Soul, I wouldn't say is a free win anymore.
The other thing that I do want to bring up as well is we talked in the drafting phase about how Saigon Buffalo have a lot of tools to help themselves against the dive potential of Cerberus. We talked about the Divine Judgment, we talked about the Devour, but we have to remember, and we saw it in that last fight, Froggy hijacking the hostile takeover, and that's probably the biggest defensive tool at Saigon Buffalo's disposal.
It definitely is. Now we see last item coming up on Artemis will be a tanky option. We see him using the Warden's Mail to really block any incoming damage and maybe even slow the Jinx when the
Randuin's?
Jinx happens with it. Randuin's are frozen hard, it will be. I think it will be Randuin's because you have so much crit on the other side. With even the Kale going for an 80 build, it would kind of make sense, I would say. And him just being almost like a pseudo frontline with Randuin's and the Shield Bow being on him, with Titanic Hydra being on him. He will just be surprisingly tanky, but still course, always be able to 1v1 the enemy ADC. Will be very hard to play against. And now I really want to see how the map control plays out because the supers are, of course, still favoring Cerberus here. And both Baron and the Soul Drake are spawning almost simultaneously.
Sorry, for a second I thought he had sold it and bought Titanic Hydra, but he already had that. The Randuin's is now completed, so Artemis is at full build. Maybe just the elixir that he'll want to buy. But we're at a point now where Cerberus want to be ending this game as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. Super minions still getting the map control, especially for the Drake. The thing is, they can easily give away one Drake, and Saigon Buffalo can't, right? I mean, for them it's just an Ocean Drake if Saigon Buffalo takes it. For Saigon Buffalo, it would be potential Ocean Soul, and Cerberus could just now play for the Baron or play for both just a little bit. They, however, choose to go for the Soul, which I think is a bit greedy because the Supers don't help that much on that side of the map, because the Supers are still pretty close to the Drake itself.
Cerberus can just play this slowly and let the minions push in the bottom lane. Eventually, Saigon Buffalo are going to have to deal with it. Paranoia a little bit too late. Saigon Buffalo have already got the Drake. Leash forced to dash away, and Saigon Buffalo get the Drake for free.
They get the Drake for free, and that really triggers me because it was really unnecessary. Cerberus could have just gone for the Baron and really forced a reaction out of Saigon Buffalo. They do it just now, but they could have done it a little bit sooner. And now there's at least a little bit of counterplay for side of Buffalo, but Binjay might be too late.
Thanks for the leash, say the side of Cerberus, as the Super Mega Death Rocket does absolutely nothing. Super Minions still pushing in the bottom lane. Inhibitor has now respawned Cerberus. Are they going to be able to cancel some backs? Not really. Oh, sorry, they are. I was just thinking in opposites for a second there.
Yeah, the minions itself just really regained the inhibitor for now. Maybe
Hit
Husband
the
if they're in time to
inhibitor,
really secure.
not the other
Yeah,
minions.
stop twirling minions, man. I mean, just focus. Don't focus the tank. Is what we say in solo queue when we have in silver. But
Yeah.
that's just the minions. Yeah, stop focusing the other minions. They don't do much.
They never went to minion training school. That's the issue.
That's the difference right there. You say it. And level 60 has been hit by Hasmet so far. And also, Saigon Buffalo denying another Drake means, of course, potential soul is later coming out for the side of Cerberus. And yeah, with that Kale that has been behind, you really want to scale up a little bit more to have higher chances to win this game. But the game overall is still pretty close. I would favor Cerberus still because the onus is on them to really throw the game away. And Baron and Supers really can do much for them. But the Supers right now, I mean, they aren't coming anymore. The inhibitor has been respawned and hasn't been attacked by them. And now I just want Cerberus to play it cleanly and not go for another fail dive. I think it should still be on them to close it out, as they can just use multiple Baron empowered waves, and this should be very hard for Saigon Buffalo to defend it.
Right now, Hazmed is in mid lane trying to deal with a push from past Cerberus. Going for this 4-1 push. Huber and Leash just sitting in between the two lanes, getting ready to make a potential engage. But Cerberus playing this smart, playing this slow, just letting the super minions do their work slowly, chipping away at the inner towers.
This is exactly what happens here. Tier 2 turret in the mid lane falling right now, and Cerberus just now going for multiple pushes at the same time. Exactly what I wanted them to do, and I really wonder how Saigon Buffalo plans to defend it. They cannot really commit to one side fully, and of course, Paranoia and Realm Mob will be helping out Cerberus to really then, if they manage to split up Saigon Buffalo correctly, to then go for a dive on one side of the map. And this is likely what they are preparing right now, and maybe trying to sink the Baron in part way. So far, though, they struggle to do it.
Now they're going on to the inhibitor tower. Is that a bit too early? Poss already down low, and the Cyclone's going to stop Poss from running away. Poss just about survives Divine Judgment, hostile takeover, and both teams will be able to disengage. I don't know what Harsmed almost died from there, but Taki with the Devour made sure that the Kel would not perish.
That's definitely the case. And I think what Taki did there, he devoured the K because the K was berserk. And he literally, in a hostile way, he devoured her. So the K doesn't kill his own team. It's kind of the irony in that. Sorry, mate, I have to eat you because you are otherwise, destroying us. And could look kind of funny in that regard. And that fight was kind of a small disaster for the side of Cerberus. Luckily for them, nobody died, but Poss getting chunked out pretty much very early in this fight means he couldn't really contribute to the fight itself. And the hostile takeover coming out from Haspet kind of almost turning it around on its own, but not quite so far. I mean, while defending a turret, you can get easily hit by it, and that's what happened to Hasmet there. And I wonder if maybe the scaling from Kale also plays in the favor of Cerberus to some extent, because if we go to hostile takeover, she can just maul her own team, and that's something we addressed in the draft that could maybe happen. It is a R5 Kale counterpick. It hasn't worked for most part of the game, but maybe it will later on if she can evade the hostile takeover and win the fight on her own.
Well, you know what they say in Spider-Man, right? With great power comes even greater hostile takeovers.
Yes, that's exactly what they said. Yeah.
It was just part one of Uncle Ben teaching Peter Parker all about League of Legends. But he forgot to say, rule 1, never chase a Singed. But sadly, he didn't have enough time to give that. Poor Uncle Ben. Either way, Cerberus are starting to set up vision around the bottom side of the map with that Ocean Drake in 1 minute 30. It would be soul point for Cerberus, and Cerberus pretty much handed the previous Drake on a silver platter for Saigon Buffalo, just let them take it practically uncontested.
It was a little bit of both teams doing a favor, right? I mean, it was the Drake being given away for free for the side of Saigon Buffalo, and then the Baron being rushed by the side of Cerberus with no response from BJ coming out. Then we see the Baron just getting 2 tier 2 turrets, which was kind of underwhelming for me because I expected Cerberus to really do more with that Baron and really syncing the minion waves better and then just threatening a dive on one side of either the mid lane or the top lane play. Here we see the next wave being alive, and positioning looks fine for Saigon Buffalo. Cerberus, of course, though, if they win one flip, they have the soul.
Again, Saigon Buffalo just take the Drake and Cerberus don't contest it. Froggy with a hijacked Paranoia now running. Sorry, Leash used a Paranoia. I can't tell if it's Froggy's Paranoia or Leash's Paranoia. But Cerberus don't want to let Saigon Buffalo get away. The Hallowed Mist buying some time for Poss. As Cerberus just poke into Saigon Buffalo. Ultra Shock Laser. Froggy down to half health as there is the Lightning Crash. Artemis over the wall. Trying to do damage. Flashing back in. BJ goes golden. But Harsmed is down. The KL has fallen for the side of Saigon Buffalo. And Cerberus have to. Now they look for Froggy. Froggy goes golden. But Froggy will die when he comes out of stasis. It's just Shogun and Taki left. But Artemis will get another. Now he looks for Shogun. Surely he gets the kill. Able to pop the Guardian's Angel. But it is a 4-on-1. And it will be Huber claiming the shutdown. Cerberus take a 4-0, and now they march into Saigon Buffalo's base.
Beautiful pins are coming by the side of Cerberus to really get them in this small corridor where Artemis could just still free fire and go away with his tanky item build where he cannot really get killed. Yano also doing a lot of work on the Wise with the Everforce. He really fought in that fight. And with the minion wave being in their favor, Cerberus can take the game and take the series. 2-0, very clean start. Welcome to the VCS. Thank you for Leash.
Your win to split